I thought I knew what I was doing in real estate. I had retired in my 20s, I was living the dream, I was passively making $5,000 a month in real estate, and then 2008. That's when I learned what no one talks about, and what still is keeping most investors broke. 2008 was an interesting time. See, leading up to that point, 2006 was amazing, right? It was like the Lego movie. Everything was awesome, because the truth is, you can make money doing anything with real estate. You literally would buy a property, and within a few months, the property appreciated. And so that was the thing, is that you start to believe this lie that real estate always goes up, right? Well then, of course, 2007 rolls around. I started to see things changing with banking. They got stricter. And the next thing I know, I'm in the hole $16,000 a month. I didn't know what I was gonna do. And by the way, I was teaching people how to get out of the rat race. At that point, when I realized I was in over my head, and I was now no longer out of the rat race, I was now back in the rat race, that's when I realized I could no longer teach how to get people more passive income. Because the truth is, I was back in the rat race. How can I teach somebody something I'm not doing myself? That's hypocritical, right? So here's the big lie that I believed in, is that real estate always goes up and that I'm always banking on appreciation. What I really needed was not appreciating properties, I needed appreciating income. I see this all the time with wholesalers and flippers. They all talk about the big checks that they make. It's not as sexy when you start talking about that investment property you're making $300 a month on, is it? They don't say that. They don't talk about those things in the social media and things like that. They're just trying to sell you on some kind of crap to make you rich. And so you go buying in hook, line, and sinker like I did in my 20s. And then the ambition of my 20s caught up to me where I was broke by my 30s. And that's what you've got to avoid. Cash flow, income is what you need. Income is everything. So this is where I talk about really the things I teach in my course. I have like the cash flow secrets course where I talk about what I did to free up that much cash flow. Let's talk about a few of those things that I did during that time. Let's just break it down a little bit. One, I started tracking my money, right? I started actually looking to see what I was spending. The thing is, when money was coming in so readily, I wasn't tracking my money at all. I wasn't doing any of those things, right? Two, another thing I was doing too is that I actually started to find ways to reduce my tax bill. Now, when I wasn't making as much money, there wasn't much taxes. But as I made more money, I started to make sure I had more write-offs for my businesses so I could keep more of the income that I was making. Three, I was also paying off my debts very creatively. I was using an actual strategy that I developed called the cash flow index. Back in 2008, I was playing cash flow game. And I was like, you know what? If I actually treat my debt like it's an investment based on cash flow, not on appreciation or interest rates, but on the cash flow, the monthly payments, this can actually help me better. By the way, I just used this cash flow index for one of my friends just the other day. Showed him how with no money out of pocket, he would still be able to free up about $2,000 a month in the next couple years. Huge, huge, right? By the way, we actually have a code in here. You can see the link in here in the description if you want to get access to that course. Great way if you feel like you're tight for cash now. If you don't have the money to invest, this is great. Now let me go back to what I did do. As I got my cash flow under control, what did I actually start doing? What was the secret I started focusing on? I stopped focusing on appreciation and I started focusing on passive income. What's that money coming in? So now when I invest, I don't go buying into, can I make huge rates of return on putting my money in somewhere? I want to see what's the income I get from it. Because the truth is, most of the time when you have some big returns promised to you, it's usually somewhere out in the future, somewhere down the road. I can't control what's going on down the road. In fact, I don't even know if I'll even be alive down the road. But I'm alive today. And so if I can get month-to-month cash flow, or at least quarter-to-quarter cash flow, that's what I do. That's why I do different investments now. That's why I do things like turnkey real estate properties, where somebody else property manages for me, because I'm a horrible property manager. I do things like lending my money out to investors and things like that, letting them do all the work. I let them borrow the money from me. I become their bank, and then they pay me interest. I have to get paid. And if they don't pay me, I get the property. And yes, in those cases, I could get appreciation. But I don't rely on appreciation anymore. That's the biggest lie, and that's the biggest mistake investors make all the time. The better investors focus on getting a return of my money. I want to get it back and get a return on it as well. But there's one piece that I haven't quite covered yet. And it's the reason why most people fail when they try to invest for income. So in this next video here, I'll show you exactly how to structure your real estate investments so they actually pay you every single month. Click here to watch now.